Hey guys, welcome back and Happy New Year. I am so excited to be partnering with Skillshare on today's video as I share with you guys my 2020 goals, or as I like to call them, intentions. I like the word intentions a little bit better than goals because an intention is really just like a desire of focus on a certain area, and that's really what I like to do. I just like to narrow down my focuses for 2020. If you've watched any of my videos in the past, I've done them multiple years in a row. I really enjoy sharing them with you guys and then being able to watch them myself the next year so that I can see how I did and I can evaluate my progress. So I just did that with last year's video, and so I'm really excited to share 2020. So I always break up my goals or intentions into several different categories. So I have personal, I have marital, I have spiritual, I have my homeschooling goals, and I have relational goals. And then I usually try to pray about a word for the year or something that I'm just gonna be kind of the overall theme, I guess, setting the tone. And I actually had a really hard time with that. I'll get into more of that as to why. But the categories are in no specific order of importance or anything like that. But I am going to start with my personal goals, and that is where Skillshare comes in. So if you guys are not familiar with Skillshare, they are an online teaching community where you can take hundreds of different classes ranging in all different topics, from photography to writing to perfecting your Instagram photos to lifestyle to organization to productivity. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But Skillshare definitely will have something to spark your creative juices if that is something you are looking to do or focus on in 2020. You guys will see why, for me, one of my personal goals ties perfectly into using a community or a class offering like Skillshare does, because you know, it's important to make New Year's a time for good intentions, and 2020 can be a year to deepen your existing passions, explore new things that you find interesting, and really just get lost in creativity, which is kind of what I'm focusing on as a part of a personal goal for me. I'll have a link down in the description box where you can join the Skillshare community for 2 months for free, zero charge, advantage of that offer. That way you can check it out and see if there's something that interests you or sparks your creativity or gets those juices flowing. Learning new things is something I am always preaching to my kids, and so I really enjoy using Skillshare to be able to demonstrate that mom is learning new things too. Like I said, the class that I just most recently took, I wrote it down because I didn't want to misquote it. It's called An Insta-Worthy Photo Shoot, Edit, and Share by Brandon Wolfel, W-O-E-L. F-E-L. And I really enjoyed his class. It was very easy to understand. It was very to the point, but also really opened up my eyes to a more artistic side of sharing on Instagram. And just his tips were fantastic. So if you at all share in the social media world, I can't recommend that class enough. So thank you to Skillshare for partnering with me on today's video. I am going to be utilizing Skillshare myself as I head into 2020 with my intentions. We are going to start with my personal category. And the first one that I have for a goal for 2020 for myself is to take time for things that bring me joy. And this is where Skillshare comes in, because so often I find myself doing all the things, and they're things that I enjoy, but they're for other people's benefit. They're for my house, they're for my work, they're for my kids. And I sometimes feel like I haven't just taken any time out to do something that brings me joy personally as a human being in a very long time. So whether that be, you know, sitting in the bath for an extremely long time, or reading books other than books I'm reading to my kids for school, or taking a class on Skillshare on some different things that I want to learn new things. you know, those kind of things, they bring me joy. So I want to make sure that once a month I am doing something, at least once a month, that brings me personally joy. Not to be confused with I don't enjoy what I do with my family or my kids, because I do, and I find joy in that as well, but just something for me personally, and not like shopping and stuff like that, but like heart fueling stuff. So that is my first intention for 2020. The second intention I have for my personal category is to continue to learn how to give myself grace. I am a recovering perfectionist, and I hold myself to the highest of standards, higher than anyone else holds me in all areas of my life, and it is something I continually struggle with. So I want to give myself the grace that I extend other people, because I do not do that very well. And so that is going to be an intention that I have this year as well. Like I mentioned, taking time to do things that I enjoy, but I just want to read, I want to have a book that I am reading the entire year just for myself. I really enjoy spiritual books, but I also would really like to have just a book that I am just reading for enjoyment for myself. So if you have any great recommendations, leave them down in the comments below. The next thing that I have for my personal category is to continue to do everything that I do with purpose and intention. So I do not want to be going through the motions for anyone. I do not want to be going through the motions for any obligation. I do not want to be going through the motions for anything, really. Everything I do, I want it to have purpose and intention. I am a very goal-oriented, purpose-driven, missional-minded type person, and I like operating out of that place because it doesn't leave me doing a lot of things that just are for no reason, and my time is precious to me, and so I just want to make sure to continue to have that purposeful and intentional mindset on everything that I do, on every activity I put on the calendar, on every friend gathering I attend, on every date night I plan with my husband, like everything, I just really want it to be out of a place of intentionality and purpose. And that is about it for the personal side of my intentions for 2020. So moving on to the marital intentions for 2020. I have had this first one on every video I've done, and it still remains there because it is a struggle. A monthly date night with my husband, you would think it wouldn't be hard. It is so hard. And we have gotten, we do really well, and then sometimes 1 month missing turns into 2, and then 2 into 3, and like it just gets really bad. So we need to get back to doing that once a month, and if we feel too busy to take a date night, then we probably need to reevaluate where our time is going, because it's always going to our kids, and we just need time for us. And so we already have our January 1 planned, and so I think planning ahead will help us a little bit. That's a little tip for you. If you struggle with goals and intentions, you have to have a plan of action to like implement things. You can't just throw it out there and hope that it falls into place. Like, what are the next steps? So we're gonna try to plan out a few ahead. The next intention I have for my marriage is to just be a little more intentional about showing my husband appreciation for all that he does. I feel it because I couldn't do this without him working full-time. I couldn't homeschool without him working full-time. I couldn't take care of my kids without him working full-time. I couldn't feed my kids the healthy foods I like to feed them without him working full-time. And then besides work, there's just a lot that he contributes. And so I just want to be more intentional about letting him know that I appreciate him. And then the last intention I have for the marriage category might surprise you guys, but you know, I'm pretty honest here. And Jake and I don't always get along, right? We've been together for a very long time, and sometimes we just don't see eye to eye on things. But I have the personality type of, I don't know if it's a personality or more of a behavior learned type situation, where, you know, he might say something or do something that kind of hurts my feelings, but if it's not that big of a deal, or if I know me bringing it to his attention is going to upset him, then I'll just avoid that altogether and I won't even tell him. And I used to think that like, oh, I can just get over it myself. Like, you don't have to sweat the small stuff, Ashlee, which is true. You don't need to have a conversation about every minor offense in marriage. But what I found was I was really kind of avoiding it because I don't want to have conflict. And that was starting to turn into a little bit of resentment in certain areas because I wasn't effectively communicating that my needs weren't being met in this area, or that my feelings were hurt, or that this was making me feel that he was disinterested, or whatever the case may be. So I would just avoid it because I just didn't want to deal with the resistance that I knew I would probably be faced with. And I did ask him if I could share about this ahead of time, so he knows this. And one of his intentions is to be more receptive to communication. So we're working together on this. But I would just avoid conversations because I knew he was going to get upset about it, and I didn't really have the energy to kind of get into it. So I would just not talk about it. And that's not good for communication, and that's not good when you've been married for a long time, because, you know, marriage is a choice. It always is a choice. And there's never a time where you can really just like relax with it all. You always have to be working at it. And so that is the last intention I have for my marriage category, is to just be good at communicating, even if I know he's not gonna like it. Now moving on to the spiritual category, my intentions here are pretty simple and straightforward. I need to get back into the discipline of a daily quiet time. I always struggle with this after the holidays for some reason. I think it's just the busyness, and then moving in the holidays, I do like a family Advent study, and so we kind of do it like together. And so then moving into like a more personal time, it's just, I don't know, I always feel like it's been a while since I was really good about that morning quiet time. So I am definitely going to need to get back into that habit. The next thing for my spiritual category is to wake up and truly ask God every single day, what do you have for me today, God? What do you want me to do today, God? I wake up with my to-do list planned 3 months ago, and that is good. That is all good, but I don't leave a lot of room if I'm being completely honest, I don't even really ask God, like, what do you want me to do daily? I ask in the bigger scheme of things, but I for some reason have a hard time with like the day to day. And I think it's just because it feels mundane and it feels the same. So one of my intentions this year is to start every day with that heart of, what do you want me to do today, God? What do you have for me today? And, I'm going to be really working on that. That's a big focus of mine. The next one that I have here, and the last one for the spiritual category, is to approach things with a more eternal mindset. And I think that just helps me in general not freak out over little things. It's hard because sometimes we get wrapped up in the day-to-day and this life and whatever circumstances in front of us. But I just want to be more eternal focused in 2020. And I want to make sure that where I am spending the largest amount of my time is eternal minded work. So that is my last intention for the spiritual category. My homeschool ones are really easy. It was actually kind of hard for me to think of some things, but I did. So The first one is that I need to focus on addressing some weak areas with my kids. And like weak areas, I'm talking about certain like academic things. I'm not talking about really character training because we are working on that all the time. But I just have kind of, I don't know, I've just, my oldest is getting older, and there's just certain things that I really want to make sure she especially is like locked in on. And so there's a few things that I need to like really dedicate time to, and I can't really approach it the same way I have been in the past, which is she'll eventually figure that out because she's getting older and we need to address those things. But anytime you give more time to one area, something else has to give, and so I just need to be focused on that in 2020. So that is one of my intentions. The next one is to give my children a little bit more responsibility. If we want our kids to be responsible, we have to give them responsibility, and they will fail. They will mess up, and then that is how they learn responsibility. And so if you're like me, it is hard to give your kids responsibility knowing that mistakes are going to be made, because it's like, well, we can just avoid all of that if I just do it, or if I like hover and help you with that. But my kids are getting older and they need some more responsibility. And I think back to the things that I was doing when I was 13, and it was by far way more than my kids do, and for my husband as well. And so you know, they need a little more. So that is going to be a focus of mine in 2020 as well. And the last category I have is relational, and this would be like my friendships or my virtual friendships here with you guys. So my first intention, and the one that I feel like encompasses this whole area, is to just serve and love my friends well. I want to see needs and just step in. I want to just love my people well. I want to be a life-giving, encouraging friend. And I think I do pretty well at that for the most part, but I want to focus a little bit more on it. I want to dive a little bit deeper into the whole, like I shared in the video where I talked with you guys about what my purpose is for my channel. That was very insightful for me, actually, to read your guys' feedback and comments. And I do realize that encouragement is like the biggest heartbeat behind, it's the driving force behind my channel. And so I want to serve you guys as my virtual friends well in 2020 with encouragement, and I want to encourage and love my friends in real life really well in 2020. So I'm just going to be looking and praying for opportunities, and then also I've been praying and planning for my community here, and I think I have an idea. I'm not ready to share about it yet, but I don't know, it's kind of making me a little scared, which usually means that I need to step out and do it. So I will, but I'm not there yet. So those are my relational goals for 2020. And as I told you at the beginning of this video, the word, I don't feel like I have a word this year. There really wasn't one when I was like praying and thinking about this, and like I've even talked about this video with a few of my friends, and I just couldn't come up with a word. I just think the overall theme this year for me is that you know, it's not me, it's him. So I want to have that attitude of like, my life is not my own, belongs to you. Give me the work you have for me. Give me the people that you want me to reach. Like, I just want to have this open-handed approach to 2020. And I don't really feel like there's a word that encompasses that. So that's kind of my theme, is just like an open-handed life, heart, all. Let's see what you're going to do this year, God. So Be sure to check out Skillshare. The link is down in the description box. Like I said, 2 months free, you guys. Start off 2020 getting some creative energy going in your life. I would love to know what you thought about my goals or my intentions. I would love to hear what yours are. Let me know down in the comments below. Give me a thumbs up before you go. Make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are on and to all so you do not miss a video. And I will see you guys all in my next one really soon. Bye guys.